thank you for joining us for another episode of Transforming Minds with Lisa. Today we have in studio with us Kim Bobwaith and Mosiah Hoyt, two trained social workers, as we explore the topic rejection. Welcome to another episode of Transforming Minds with Lisa. I am your host, Lisa Eiffel, and this morning we will be continuing our discussion on rejection. And I have two individuals with me in the studio today, and they are going to tell you a little bit about themselves now, and we're going to jump right into that topic of rejection. So I'm going to begin with the male.
So I am Mosiah Hoyt, a teacher and social worker for like the past 10 or 11 years. And one interesting thing about me, I'm a Toastmaster. I love public speaking.
Oh, Interesting. And to my left.
Hi, good morning to everybody. My name is Kim Bobwaith. I am a social worker, also a trained nurse as well, and I just love life.
All right, she loves life. Okay, so these two qualified individuals are about to engage us in the topic of rejection, and I just want to hear what they have to say. So we want to start with a definition. So can somebody tell me, doesn't matter who, what is rejection?
I see notes, so you go.
Well, to simply put it, it is to refuse to accept, consider, submit to, or take for some purpose or use. What it would say to that even more simply is that where it is that you feel that you have been refused something, even more simply put as that. So when you look at it in terms of rejection, rejection can be social rejection, where you're not accepted by society or even social groupings or persons around. It could be familiar or parental rejection, where it is you feel that you're rejected by your family members, by your parents, in the way in which they respond or don't respond to you. So it can take different forms, basically.
Okay. So then, is there a particular age bracket that will be more affected by this than another?
To say that, I wouldn't say so, because rejection is a part of life. So even from a baby growing up, the baby who has now come home from the hospital, and the way the mother attends to that child, then it feels a semblance of attachment or some care coming from that mother. If it is that the mother does not respond to its cry, then it denotes something different. So that child at that stage will feel it, but it will not be able to express it. As the child transition, and we will note that in terms of children, as children develop, you develop not only biologically, but physically, psychologically, socially. And the more you move and you engage, then you get to know different things. You get to express different things. So where at first, initially as a baby, you are tending to cling to one individual, which would be the caregiver, the one who gives you more attention. Okay. In this case, you're growing, you're learning, how do I maneuver as it relates? And you're learning in your process. So you know when it comes to individuals, okay, it's all right with mommy, she's good. But then you test to see who else is there, and then you know whether it is good for this individual, how I feel about that individual. So you're learning as you go along. The more you grow, the more now you understand, because now you're introduced to languages, and you're getting to understand certain words, you're getting to understand certain things, and then you know you're learning as you go along. So rejection can occur from a baby, a newborn baby, who has now come until as old as an elderly person who may be in the hundreds, and however old they will go.
Okay.
But it is how you respond to it that makes sense.
I think you acknowledge it probably in school. I think that's where you realize that rejection takes place. Simple, you're going to be chosen on a team for sports. If you're chosen last or second last or third last, you pick up a hint.
Yeah.
You go into your teenage years and then there's it happens again. Or for example, you are more aware of the fact that daddy isn't around, why isn't mommy around, why do I live with this person? Then you are able to connect dots and realize, okay, well, there's some sense of abandonment, you start to feel rejected, and I think at certain age group, certain points, you can identify rejection. You're hoping that when you're a child, when you're a baby, that the things that are supposed to be done are done so that you could adjust, because rejection is going to happen at some point in your life. So you're hoping that you can adjust at a 7 or 8 year old. Okay, you choose me last, so what? Or at 14 or 15, this has happened to me. I feel rejected, but I can adjust and go on. So it depends really on how it started, but I think that at certain points you can identify if you've been rejected or to the level which it will affect you.
So you mentioned about where it started. Would it matter where it came from as well?
I think so.
So it was channeled through,
I
like we
think
talked
so.
about the parents.
Yes.
Okay. And what are common signs and symptoms that, that says, hey, this is a problem?
Do I leave this to you?
You can share it.
Go ahead.
All right. When we're thinking in terms of rejection, in terms of signs, you can see things like low self-esteem, lack of self-worth, don't care how you look or how you dress. In some cases, it has gone to as far as a person being depressed. Okay. Depression steps in. You have things in terms of anger, aggression, bitterness. Where is the person can fly off the handle quick when certain things are said or in a particular environment and certain things are happening. They can withdraw themselves, don't want to be in the same room or where certain things are happening. So there are different signs that do exist. And note that even the signs that I have called also may pertain to other things as well. Okay. So it calls for you to get to know the individual, to find out what is the cause of this particular thing that is being demonstrated, that you can fully understand.
Okay.
So everybody that is angry, we don't want to say that they were rejected. We don't want to say that at all.
Yes.
But it is for you to get to know and understand that individual, to see what is the factor that this has come up from.
But I don't know if some people really care to always get to know, especially, well, let me not say especially but sometimes as a teacher, if I am honest, especially when I started, I wasn't thinking if this child was rejected, so he's playing the fool, or another person because they're so quiet that they might have experienced rejection in their life. But because of doing social work, then I wanted to know more. So now when I went to my classroom, I looked at things through a different lens. So let me get to know. But now I don't know if everybody wants to know or goes the extra mile to show that care so that those things could be identified early. I don't know.
That's very interesting.
Yes, very much.
Okay. And I remember in our last interview, we had a young lady, and Natasha, she would have shared her testimony. And I remember asking her as well if there weren't anyone around, And my question now is, what is it that the caregiver, or maybe this is, I would say the parent, if that is not the person who is the cause of the rejection, what can a parent or caregiver do to assist a child who is having this issue where they feel rejected? So we are going to assume then that the rejection that child is feeling is coming from maybe the other parent or maybe an outside source. How can a caregiver, so Mosa, you're a teacher and you have noticed certain traits in the classroom, what can you do as a teacher to help build that child and help them to deal with this rejection that they're feeling?
I like your question. I want to answer it from my personal experience in school as a student. So at school, I had some tough days. I had some real tough days in school. And the way that I made it through, especially with rejection from peers, I felt like my father helped me. So my father would check in with me every day. And he would ask me, so how was today? And I would talk to him, and I could be real honest with my father and tell him an experience that I had, and my father would talk me through it. And in the moment at school, it seemed so overwhelming, so overwhelming. Like there were times when I didn't want to go to school. I don't think that I go to school tomorrow. But after my father taught me through it, it was like tomorrow easy. Even if it meant that other days he would have to talk me through it again. He made the process easy. Everybody does not have that. Everybody does not have that. So as a teacher, what I do is that from the onset, I am careful with my words. I can be a strict teacher, if I am honest. But I try not to belittle my students, and I try not to make them feel that they're less of, because I don't know if at home they get that. I don't know if in their family setting or extended family they get that kind of response from persons. So I find in my settings, I try to keep it as positive as I can. There are times where I do have to discipline, and I will discipline, but I try to make sure that I affirm my students. I encourage them. I tell them, I don't care if if you think that reading is a challenge, you got to put in the effort. You understand? So I think that as a teacher, my role to assist someone who may have experienced rejection is really to affirm them and to encourage them. And I think parents can play that same role as well.
Okay.
Hi guys, Lisa here from Transforming Minds with Lisa. I just want to encourage you to show some appreciation to someone today. Acknowledge them for what they have done. Show them that they are loved and appreciated for the simplest things that they do. Who knows, your words of affirmation might very well change that person's life around.
My next question, because I see you often mention about growing up, your challenges, and the role that your father played in that whole process. And I really wanted to know, and this has been on my mind for a while, do males struggle with rejection?
Yes. Yes. Yes, men struggle with rejection. I think that we are not expected to express it, or how we express it is generally through aggression or anger. So when you see that, then persons will automatically put up a wall to a man being angry. Wait, you're always vexed, well, or you're just being a man, versus trying to find out what is the underlying challenge. Too many young men that I counsel usually come from fatherless households. And I remember clearly one saying that his concern was why his father didn't want him. In public or with his buddies or at home, that isn't something he'd communicate.
That's true.
Can he communicate it, or are men allowed to be vulnerable to that point where they could communicate, this is how I feel about the situation? I don't just feel like my father isn't there, but I feel like he doesn't want me. That's rejection. And I think that's very often that our boys or young men struggle from that point, because so many homes are fatherless, that they feel unwanted from someone who should really be helping them and really molding them and demonstrating to them what it is to be a man. So if the person who was selected for that role in performing it, man, you feel rejected. And then that's not getting to relationships and how rejection unfolds in relationships, although it's a part of adjusting. I mean, when you're younger, you shoot your shot at a young lady and you hope that it works. It don't always work, but it is adjusting then to the fact that this is a part of the process. Every young girl can say yes. Every young lady may not like you to the extent that you like her. So that is a part of it as well. If you get old and you go into marriage, then rejection in marriage is a totally different thing, because now you're connected with this person and you want to be with this person for the rest of your life. and you're experiencing bits of rejection. And if you struggle with it younger in school, then it comes back up now, and the man demonstrates it in anger, then a whole myriad of things could come up, and like domestic violence. He isn't able to express what he feels, but he may show it in anger because he can't communicate, or maybe he doesn't know that this is because they felt rejected times before.
Okay. Because I think that our society has created this picture where a male is not supposed to cry. I remember somebody telling one of my boys, men don't cry, man, you got man. And I said, stop. Don't you dare do that. Because he's to never feel pressure that he can pull away at any point in time and be emotional. Because there's that side, then there's the extreme side of this spectrum, and you don't want that. So he must know that I can be a male, but I can have my moments where I can be vulnerable and let my emotions out, pull myself together again, and go.
But he was lucky to have you as a mother to identify that and stop it then. But that doesn't generally happen.
Yes, because we are taught that if you do that, you're not macho, and you're weak and a sissy, and all these things would come out, you know, some terms, yes. Okay, so we identify that males do struggle with low self-esteem.
Definitely, and rejection.
And rejection, and their expression of it would be different now to a female, because he talked about expressing in terms of anger. Would you say that a female would express with the opposite in terms of withdrawing and being all teary-eyed and so forth?
It depends, because you've seen that initially in terms of what society would have shown you before, yes, that might have been the first thing to do. But because society is so changing and individuals are so changing, you will find that some of the young ladies nowadays become aggressive. So they're no longer crying or walking away, or whatever the case may be. They're standing up to show that I exist and you got to pay attention to me, and violence can come out as a result of that as well. In terms of it, we have the whole spectrum as it relates to individuals who, at one point in time, yes, they would revert. Don't speak to anybody. You call them on the phone, they're not answering the phone. They're not eating, you're not drinking, they're not socializing with anybody. They prefer to be left alone. And at that point in time, we find that it's a very dangerous point to be at. You may not want to feel that you're pushing them, but because you know where it can so catapult into depression and into the part where persons can commit suicide as a result of feeling that sort of rejected, basically. But because society has changed, you can still have both existing in terms of the anger and the aggression coming out for some of the young ladies, and you still have the spectrum where persons can be so resolved, recluse in themselves, don't want to speak to anybody, don't want to hear anybody, want to stay at home, don't want to go anymore, don't want to be seen in public because of how they feel about themselves, basically. The thing about rejection is that the rejection that happens, it doesn't only stay outwardly. It is something that happens inside of the individual, because then they're blaming themselves. They're trying to find some sort of what is about me that you would not want to speak about me.
Yes.
What did I do wrong that you would feel this way to say no about something, or the way you responded to me? Why it is I can't get that last drink? Why it is so there's so many things that happen, that decisions are made within a household or within a group of friends. Decisions are made, but the impact can be different on any of those individuals within that whole grouping at that point in time, and you kind of internalize it. You look at it. For me, in terms of growing up, I can look back now and see where it is. I did feel rejected. I could not identify that is what it was. But now as an adult, I know you've gone through some learning processes, you recognize me, but in truth, that is how I felt at that point in time. Now, where is that you would have had your father to be able to speak to him. In my household, it was a big household. there wasn't already talking in that sort of regard. And everybody was more looking out for themselves and everybody trying to bring up the whole self in a sense. So therefore there was nobody to be able to talk to. You talk to yourself a lot as it relates to it. And then I grew into this thing as, if you say I can't do it, I'm gonna prove I could do it.
Oh.
I went that extreme. So whereas you said, I remember being at school, and especially going to school and you're going along and you're trying to do your best, but yet you're coming up short with schoolwork, and then you get lashes, you can't understand, but why am I getting lashes as it relates to it? You go along, you can't understand, but you're trying harder, you're trying harder. And then when I got to BCC, English is not my first subject. In my English and communications class, the tutor would give us essays to write, and you will write the essays, and he will always give me a very, very low mark. And I'm like, but sir, what is happening here? I'm experiencing rejection at that point in time, because here it is, I'm going to fail a class. And if I've experienced it during school and coming now and trying to meet a standard, you've gone on to BCC now, you want to make sure you meet that standard as well, because you don't want to fail, you don't want the repercussion as it relates to it. And here it is, he's telling me, but the way you write your words is as a sea of words. You have no commas, you have no full stops, you have no nothing in this. How do you expect me to grade this? And I was determined, I am going to change your mind. So every Saturday, I will go down by the beach and I sit down and I write in bare essays. On anything I could think about, I started to write something. And then I would take it back to him. And he would correct it. And he would give me back it, and I felt like I ain't getting away with it. I'm not getting anywhere with him. But I kept doing it. And then we did the exam. And when I did the exam, he looked for me. He said, what grade did I give you your exam? And I'm looking. Sir, you gave me a B+. He said, no, that cannot be so. I will have to look at that paper again. But I felt relieved that, I persevered in achieving this particular thing as it relates to it. Now, as I said, I didn't have anybody to talk to. For me, as I said, now I'm looking back, I can see where God has been my state in terms of guiding me along the way. I didn't know him as I do know him now, but I can look back and see where I didn't fall off the wagon like some other persons did it, or whatever the case may be, but there was something inside of me that, let me prove them wrong. When they say this can happen, no, it can't happen. Let me prove where it can happen as it relates to it. That in itself, I've learned, can be very dangerous as well.
Because I was going to ask you about that.
I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been tuned in to Transforming Minds with Lisa. We just want to say we appreciate the comments, and we want to encourage you to keep them coming. And join us next week as we continue part 2 of the discussion of rejection from the social worker's perspective.